Hello everybody and welcome to our virtual 67 Pall Mall. Later today, Santiago Achabal will be discussing his wine Matavini from Mendoza. And then we've got a big one. Jane Anson will be celebrating Bastille Day and tasting all 5 first growths of the left bank, along with the Chateau Yquem to finish with, and everyone from the 2000 vintage. And then finally for today, we speak with Andre van Rensburg at the famous Verkelijken estate in South Africa. But for now, we're very happy to welcome Jose Urtasun, the owner of Bodegas Remirez de Ganuza, who will be telling us about the history of this Rioja estate and tasting their wines. So please do chat away on the side, share with us what you're drinking and where you're drinking it from, and put your photos on social media with hashtag 67FromHome. As usual, we'll have 15 minutes at the end to ask questions, and a big welcome to Jose. How are you?
Hello, thank you, Ronan. Very happy and very excited to be here. I must say that I'm not very used to all this technology, so if I do something wrong, please help me.
Don't worry about it. It's all new to everybody, but I'm sure you'll be fine.
Thank you.
Okay, well, so thank you very much. So I'll let you carry on. Tell us about your history, the estate, and about where you are in Spain.
Well, we are a small winery, boutique winery. We are located in the village of Samaniego. Samaniego is in the very north part of Rioja. We are already Rioja Alavesa, and we are very, very close to Sierra Cantabria mountain. So it's, let's say, the northern limit of Rioja. And well, the winery was founded in 1989. I'm so sorry to ask, but I don't know if everybody's seen the presentation or because I don't.
We're just going to put it up in just a second.
Okay. Well, as I was saying, Remirez de Ganuza was founded in 1989 by Fernando Remirez de Ganuza. And I don't know how familiar you are with our wines, but today we are going to taste 6 different wines. It's I think it's a good example of some of the wines we are producing, and it's going to be 4 reds and 2 whites, and I hope you all enjoy it. And well, for those of you who know the area, we are about 8 kilometers from the village of La Guardia. That is the biggest town in the area, the most famous and well known. Well, we started producing in the beginning. We only started with producing reds. Remirez de Ganuza Reserva was the first wine that was produced by Remirez de Ganuza. And since then, we have been making some other wines, but today we are going to see a little bit of. Oh, I can now see the presentation. That everybody can see the presentation. I guess you all can. Well, the picture is Fernando. Fernando founded the winery in 1989, and he had no previous winemaking experience. For over 20 years, Fernando was buying and selling vineyards in the area, and that gave him a very good knowledge of which vineyards were the best ones in the area. And through the years, he started thinking that maybe once he know about the vines, he might be able to produce a very good quality wine. And that's how he decided to jump from being a grower to a producer. So, well, as he had no previous experience, and he didn't have a family that were producers, on Fernando's mind, he was questioning everything that was going on around, and everything he was told he had to do it that way. So that I think that is very important in the history of Remirez de Ganuza, because Fernando had to learn everything about winemaking and had to question if whatever was done in Rioja in the traditional way was the best way to do it, or he could question it and try it in a different way. So I think this is something interesting to try to understand how Fernando started to be a revolutionary in some of the ways. And something very, very important is that Fernando didn't want to make just any wine. When he decided he should start producing wine, he was already confident to know which vineyards were the best in the area. And by being able to have some of the best grapes in the area, he thought he could do a wine that was remarkable. Can we pass to the next photo, please? Well, I joined Remirez de Ganuza in 2010. That's me. Well, Remirez de Ganuza focus in quality, as I said, and what is very, very important for us is to take care of our old vines. It's very important for us to maintain the quality through the years, and every vintage to release a wine that we consider to be good enough for our consumers. So we have because this keeps on changing because we buy and sell some of the vineyards, but around 80 hectares of land. That is much more than what we need for our production, but having many more vineyards than we need allows us to choose the grapes that we want, and that changes every year, because let's say you have a vineyard that usually is very good, but then it's a very dry year. Maybe it's not the best weather conditions for that vineyard, but having over 240 plots allows us to choose which ones will become a part of our wine. So it's very useful to maintain the quality. Through the years, Remirez de Ganuza has introduced some change in Rioja winemaking and in Spain. For example, back in the 90s, nobody was using a sorting table in Spain. It was Remirez de Ganuza, I think, together with Roda, who both started to having a sorting table, and that was a huge change, because back then everybody was just using every possible grape they had in the vineyard. So sorting the grapes and deciding which ones were higher quality, that made a huge impact, I think, in the quality of Rioja wines. Nowadays, everybody, of course, has a sorting table, and it's something very common, but it's important to understand that years ago it was an absolute revolution. Well, while we taste the wines, we will see some other particular things that we do that are not that common to the general winemaking process. And also, it is important to mention that our wines are built to age. And in the beginning, they always feel a little bit younger, and that's why we like to age them for a little bit longer than it's required by law. And we also like to keep them at the winery, and we don't release them until we think they are ready. Normally, that means that for our Reserva, we keep it for about 7-8 years, and for the Gran Reserva, we keep it about 10 years. And if you can please pass to the next photo. As I was saying, the vineyards are a very important part of our wine, and all our vineyards are located in the northern part of La Rioja and Rioja Alavesa, in different locations like Leza, Ciego, San Vicente la Sonsierra, Ábalos, and some others. And our main production is, of course, Tempranillo, then Graciano. We always blend with about 10% of Graciano for the reds, because Graciano gives freshness to the wine. So we believe it helps Tempranillo a little bit to show more freshness. Our vines are average 60 years old, and the production is very low. We do everything in order to have good quality wines, but we don't care about quantity. Can we please pass to the next one? Well, as you are going to see, there are some particular ways we do pick our grapes. But we can pass to the next one, I think. The one before, please. This is quite important. If, as you can see, this man who is picking the grapes, he has two different recipes. He has a 12-kilo basket that is where we take the grapes that we like, and he has a bigger case, a bigger basket. Sorry, the case is for the ones we want. The bigger basket is for the ones we don't want. Those are grapes that are all right, but not as good as we want them to be. So the 12 kilos case is for our own production, and the other one we will sell it to another producer. If we move to the next one, you can see that the tracks in the first one, they have the grapes that we don't want for ourselves, and in the other one we have the 12-kilo cases where we take our grapes, and that goes directly to the winery, where we cool down. We have a room that is only the only purpose of that room is to cool down the grapes, and we cool them to about 5 degrees Celsius to prevent any spontaneous fermentation that can be happening, and also because it's easier to handle the grapes at the sorting table when it's a little bit cooler. They don't break down so easily. Well, for producing our wines, we normally use French new oak. That's one of the reasons why we were considered modern producers in Rioja, because the tradition in Rioja is to use American oak and old barrels, or sometimes very old. But we decided in the beginning we were doing as everybody else. And Fernando, for example, he bought new barrels and he gave it to another producer, so he could age our barrels. That's how he thought he should do it as everybody else. But then by experience, our own experience with our own grapes, is that they behave better when we use French oak. That is what we believe. So we use 225-liter barrels, and as I said, normally French new oak, but we also blend with some American oak. And in the last years, there are some of our wines that we have used a little bit of second use barrels. For example, for the white one, we use about 12 to 15% of second use barrel, because, well, not everything is black or white. There are many things that one kind of barrel gives and some other don't, and we are always trying to be as precise as we can, so that keeps on changing. Can we please move to the next one? Well, as I was saying before, we are located in the northern part of Rioja. That's north of Spain. We are about an hour from Bilbao and about an hour and a half from San Sebastian, about 3 hours driving from Madrid, for example. And if we can move to the next one, please. In Rioja, the main grape variety is Tempranillo, as you already know. And about 90, well, here it says 91% of the grapes are red varieties, and about 9% are white varieties. If we move to the next one, we can see the varieties that are allowed by the Rioja Consejo, and well, it's 87%, as you can see, Tempranillo, then red Garnache, Graciano, Mazuelo, and Maturana. That is very, very unusual, but what Maturana is a very good quality grape. Well, those are the red and white varieties that are allowed and that are planted in Rioja. If we can move to the next one, this is a little explanation on which vintages were excellent. This is official. This is by the DO, so you can have the last one has been excellent. Is 2019 that it was just announced a month ago, I think, and it is not in this presentation, but those are the excellent years in Rioja. This is our range of wines. Beginning from the left, it's Maria. Maria is a selection of barrels. It's a wine that is named after Fernando's daughter. Fernando's daughter died at a car accident some years ago, and Fernando decided he would like to choose the best barrels of its vintage, and he would like to produce this wine. And everything that we sold is given to a non-profit organization. So it's very limited. Probably most of you haven't heard of this wine before, because the production is about 600 bottles a year. So, and we don't normally take it to any tastings or any wine fairs because all the production is given to a non-profit organization. So we don't use any bottles for tastings or promotions. Then it's the Gran Reserva. We will talk about the Gran Reserva later. Then Trasnocho, that is something very special. You are also going to taste today two vintages of the Trasnocho. The Reserva, that is our main production. It's about 50,000 bottles a year. It's the wine we started with and the most well-known wine from Remirez de Ganuza. Next one is Viña Coqueta, that is a single vineyard wine. From the vineyard we have closer to the winery. If you are in Samaniego and you walk east to La Guardia, once you get outside of the village, this is the first vineyard we are going to pass. It's a 52 years old vineyard. And some years ago, those grapes were used to produce Remirez de Ganuza Reserva, but we decided we would like to have a single vineyard from that. Next one is Fincas de Ganuza, which is also a Reserva, but it is, let's say, our entry-level Reserva. And the last one of our reds is R. Tinto. R. You probably don't know it either because it's normally not export to any country. It's a young wine, carbonic maceration, and it's very interesting in our winemaking process because we produce it only from the tips of the bunch of grapes. I will explain this in the next photo. When we pick our grapes from our old vines, we do something that is very unusual. I haven't heard of anybody else doing this. At the sorting table, we divide the bunch of grapes in two parts. The bottom part goes to the young wine, the carbonic maceration, and it's a young wine, no oak on it. And what we call the shoulders, the upper part, goes for the Reserva and Trasnocho. So this is very unusual, and you could ask me why are you doing this. It's quite a lot of work to separate it. We do it because we know by experience that the bottom part grapes have less exposition to the sun. So the upper part has a higher concentration of sugar, it's more mature, and it's more complex. So that is the part we use for the reservas. And the lower part, it's less mature, less concentration, less complexity. So that is the part we use for the carbonic maceration. Normally, in Rioja, carbonic maceration is made from young vines, but this is an unusual case because we use old vines, but only the tips of the cluster. And we can move to the next one. This is our sorting table. As I said before, it's one of the first sorting tables in Spain. Normally, you will see that there's quite a lot of people selecting our grapes because we want to make sure that everything goes to the right place. So it's and it's normally women who are working in the sorting table because Fernando says, I don't know if this is true or not, but he says that men get more distracted easily than women. So he normally has, we never have men doing this. I don't know if it's true or not, or if it's maybe just a joke, Fernando. Can we move to the next one? Well, our first wine today is going to be our Reserva 2006. I guess everybody has the wine with you. It's 90% Tempranillo, sorry, 95% Tempranillo in this case. No, it's written in the wrong way. I think it's 90% Tempranillo, 10% Graciano. And we always use the skins of the white grapes in our reds. We do this because we read about a study from David's University. Dr. Roger Bolton was saying that if white skins do fermentation together with red grapes, they produce a chemical chain that is very stable and will help wine not to lose color so easily through the years. So it's a way of naturally preserve the color of the wine. It's a way to preserve the wine without any artificial chemicals. It has been kept for 24 months in barrels, 80% French, 20% American. In the new vintages, we are even increasing the amount of French oak because, well, in the beginning we were doing 50-50, but every year we turn more to French oak than American. And production this year was quite high for us, 68,000 bottles. Oh, I just remember I have to look sometimes to the questions. I don't see there are any questions, but I just remember. I don't know if we should pass to next wine, maybe?
Yeah, please, Jose. Yeah, pass on to the next one. If I see any questions, I will read them out to you as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Next wine, we're going to stay a little bit longer with it because it's something quite particular from Remirez de Ganuza, and I think it's interesting that I try to explain clearly what it is. Imagine this is can you see my camera, everybody? I think you can.
Yes, we can see it, yeah.
Okay, imagine this is a fermentation tank. If inside the fermentation tank, when fermentation is finished, we open the pipe and we will get the free run wine. That is going to be our yellow label, the Remirez de Ganuza Reserva. But all the skins that are left here mixed with wine, instead of taking the skins outside and pressing at a pressing machine, what we do is we introduce a plastic balloon inside the tank, and we fill this balloon with water. So the balloon will occupy the whole volume of the tank, and it's a very gentle way to press all those skins that are in contact with the wine. Doing this, we produce a very small amount of wine. It's about 6–7% of the volume of the tank. And it's a wine that is a little bit more concentrated than the Reserva, and a little bit more intense in flavors and aromas. But always remember that it is made from exactly the same grapes as the yellow label Reserva. The difference is that is the last part of the barrel of the tank that we press very softly and avoiding oxidation, because as the back is going to occupy the whole volume of the tank, there is no space for air, so there will be no oxidation. And I think it's interesting to think about it and remember that from the same bunch of grape, we are going to produce 3 different wines. From the tips, we will produce the carbonic maceration, the young wine. From the shoulders, we will produce the yellow label. And then from those same shoulders, we will press a little bit with the water bag, and we will produce this trasnocho. We are tasting 2007. 2007, in my own opinion, is a very interesting vintage. In the beginning, it was not that popular. Nobody was talking about 2007 because I think the wines were a little bit more energetic than usual, and they were not very ready to drink. For example, for Trasnocho, we released the 2007, and then we decided we were going to release the 2008 and bring back the 2007 to the winery to stop selling it, because the 2008 was more ready to be enjoyed than the 2007. But with years, I think that 2007 is developing in a very, very nice way, and I think it's going to be one of the years that is going to have a very long life. And it's a complete surprise because it was not meant to be an excellent year, but I think that wines are something alive and they keep on changing. And I think it's very interesting that sometimes one vintage that is unexpected to be that good, it ends up being something very special. Oh, sorry. I just released. I made a mistake when I was tasting my wine. So I said it in the order that is not correct, or at least the order we have in the presentation. So I don't know. I messed it up. Sorry. I don't know if you guys were tasting the Trasnocho 14 or the Trasnocho 2007. Anyway, next one, if we can move to next page, is Trasnocho 2007, which was the vintage that I was previously talking. But well, we brought 2014 and 2007, so you could have a more recent vintage to taste and an older one. Well, I hope you can tell me later which one was your favorite. Our last red wine today is the Gran Reserva 2011. It has just been released to the market. And we only produce Gran Reserva the years that we think they have a very good potential of aging. And that is normally the excellent vintages, but it doesn't have to always be the case that it's an excellent vintage. It's when we see ourselves that it has a very, very good potential of aging. And production of the Gran Reserva is very, very limited. And it's normally about 4,000 bottles when we decide to produce it. And it's a selection from the vineyard. We know by our experience which of our vines are the ones that gives better quality and more balanced grapes. So what we do is that we pick those grapes, and later we will have them in different barrels. So we know which barrels are from those vineyards, and then we will keep on tasting the wine for several years in the barrel and then in the bottle, and then is when we decide if it has the potential to become a Gran Reserva, or we just release it as a Reserva, as common Reserva. So 2011 was a very warm year. It's the second consecutive excellent year together with 2010. Comparing to 2010, it's a more warm year, and the wine is a little bit more mature. But I think it has a great potential, and it's a wine that you can enjoy right now, or you can give it a very, very long time, because normally these Gran Reservas, we don't know more because we were established 31 years ago, but you can keep them for sure for 30 years and probably much more. We are going to jump into whites. Our white wines are produced from Viura and Malvasia. They are mainly Viura. Viura is also called Macabeo in other regions of Spain, especially in Catalonia. And we started producing whites in 2004. It was called R. Punto. In my own opinion, that was a mistake, because R. Punto is our young red wine, and by calling the white wine R. Punto also, we were confusing the consumers, because, well, it's R. Punto Tinto is a young wine. The other one is a wine that is meant to age. So I think by naming them the same, they were not understanding what the wine was. And since 2013, we are producing Remirez de Ganuza Blanco. And before that, we started producing Remirez de Ganuza Blanco Reserva. That with that wine, we started in 2007, but we didn't release the first couple of years, and we started in the market with 2009. Today, we brought the Reserva Blanco 2012, which is our current vintage in the market. And if we can move, please, to the next photo. It's a wine that is produced, it's a single vineyard wine from a vineyard called El Oragar. It's in the slopes of Sierra Cantabria. Very high altitude for the area. That doesn't mean that it's very, very high altitude, but it's around 600 meters high, which is one of the highest vineyards in Rioja, and also one of the northest. So we produce the Reserva only from that vineyard. And I know it's unusual that we taste first the reds and then the whites, but I think this white is quite complex, it has enough power to do this. And as it's a wine that is aged, I think, well, maybe Ronen, I don't know, what do you think about doing this? You know much more about tasting wines, but I don't know. We usually do it in this way. And our last white is Remirez de Ganuza Blanco 2018. It's also a blend of Viura and Malvasia. It's also barrel fermented, and we keep it a little bit less. It's depending on the vintage. It's between 8 and 10 months in barrel. In this vintage, we have used about 15% of second use barrel. The rest of it is 85% is new oak, and we always use French oak for the whites, 100% French. Don't know if you have any questions about the wines or the winery. Well, only to thank everybody for being part of this tasting, and I hope you enjoy the wines. And if later on you have any questions, you can leave them at Paul Mall, and I will be very happy to answer in any moment any possible questions that anybody may have.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Jose.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.